Welcome to the Heron Heads podcast. My name is Julio, and I'm joined today by some friends and fellow Inter Miami fans, Dave, Chris, and Jose. And on behalf of the guys, we want to thank you for joining us for episode 49 here on the Heron Heads podcast, your first stop for all things Inter Miami. For those of you watching on YouTube, thanks so much for stopping by, and make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons if you're enjoying the show. A huge shout out to our chief Heron Heads, Matias and Chow. Thank you so much for your continued generous support. And if you're interested in supporting us on Patreon, you will find a link in the description wherever you are listening. All right, guys, the MLS season is finally upon us. After arduous preseason, we've made it to the point where games actually start to matter. So we got a lot to cover today. A lot of news has come out since we did our Newell's Old Boys match reaction. And let's just dive right into it. So the big news is that Federico Redondo, the deal seems to be back on and on the brink of happening. So, pulse check. How's everyone feeling?
Relieved. I don't know if you all saw our faces when the chatter was going on in the live chat last episode, but we all just like opened our eyes and like the demeanor just went like down. So having this news come out is just awesome to hear. You know, I think they tweaked the agreement a little bit, but they made it work. That's all that matters. You know, the MLS doesn't really say much, so they're not very transparent. So we don't really know exactly what happened, but whatever happened, it worked out. We got our guy. I think he's gonna be a great plug and play into this starting lineup. You know, I don't know if we're gonna see some formation change or whatever it may be, but man, this is a great signing. You know, I put something up on Instagram earlier asking people what they thought about the signing, and I got zero not great choices. Everyone said great. So it's all around. It's not like when Freire was signed that there was a lot of fans saying, "Oh, you guys got a bad one. Oh, this guy does this." No, this like the Argentinians are mad that he came to Inter Miami. So great signing. I'm glad it's over with. Let's see when he joins the team and joins in on some games.
Yeah, I typically love watching fan reactions and what they're saying about the players that we're signing, and that was a nice uplifting thing. But that started us to say, okay, well, is he? You know, we're not watching every single game of this guy, so what are they saying? And then you see it, and you're like, okay, I guess we got a baller. So that's good. I agree though, Chris. I'm curious to see how we plug him in. I do think he's going to be one of the more talented players on our team, so that's something to look forward to.
And how nice is it to have a talented player who's not in the back end of his career? Because that's been the model for this team, is having ultra talented but much older players, and then having that infusion of just young, vital or go-getter players who are just running around them at a million miles an hour. Now we have a young, skilled player, which was really, I think, the first time that we've had that type of addition to this group. Because while Toto is young and is showing promise, this is not just a player who shows promise. This seems to be a really well-rounded player who's ready to go right now. So word is that he might be one of the best midfielders in the MLS as a whole. So adding that caliber player to this roster, I think, is something it's been really needed. Gregory was a good player. You really don't like to see Gregory leave. But yeah, like Chris said, when we heard the news that Gregory was out and that the Redondo deal was falling through, that's chaos. That's panic, major panic button. That's chaos. But thankfully, it looks like the winds have gone the right way now, and the sales are moving forward, so we can actually enter the season on the right foot. Because if we would have lost Gregory and not have an adequate replacement, yikes, big yikes.
So just some stats and some clarification. So Gregory officially did get transferred to Botafogo in Brazil. And then as far as Federico Redondo goes, he's 21 years old, just turned 21 a month ago. He's 6'2", plays defensive midfield. And yeah, his comps seem to be like, honestly, like Busquets. He seems like a Rodri type, or just one of these real playmaking, deep-lying midfielders that can dribble around defenders using his big body to shield the ball. He can make really nice long passes. He seems very intelligent with his vision and positioning, and really can help solidify the midfield that stands ahead of our defense, which we've stated over and over and over is probably our weakest unit. And maybe he, alongside Busquets, or probably sometimes alone on the pitch without Busquets, will help solidify our defensive third. And it's for all intents and purposes, everything we've seen has been very positive about this player. So it does appear that he's going to be under a 4-year contract with the club. The kind of quirk to it is that 15% of the rights still belong to Argentina juniors. And that's probably just so that they were able to recoup the funds that they wanted to get now, which I guess was the hiccup last week. And then should we sell him on or whatever happens to him, they'll still own 15%, so they can get, additional proceeds down the road. So everyone seems to win. I think it's a fantastic move. Really all we want to see now is maybe a little bit more depth at right back and a little more depth at center back. But otherwise, I think Redondo really rounds out the team. That's a Spanish joke for those of you who don't realize that. So at right back, we have some news. It seems that we've been linked to Franco Escobar, the right back from the Houston Dynamo. Not much has come since we saw the initial report that we were linked to Escobar, but would be kind of cool. Jose specifically has some pretty strong thoughts on Yedlin. And we have said that he needs some depth behind him, because really behind Yedlin, we don't have anyone. Gressel can obviously plug in now, but it seems like that wants to use him a little bit more up the pitch. But Jose, what was it that you were saying about Franco Escobar?
I'm just happy to see someone else at right back. So let's just see what happens. Has this deal been closed already? I don't even think it's been closed yet.
No, it was just a rumor last night. I think it came out, and this morning nothing had changed. So we're still waiting on other news there. I mean, the season's about to start, so we'll see what happens there.
I'm assuming if Escobar is in, that Yedlin will probably be out. Right?
I don't think fully, but I think they would just rotate around. But again, like Chris said, it was rumored. It came out late last night, and nothing sort of materialized since then. So we'll just keep an eye on it. Some bit of news that did go through. Go ahead, Dave.
You don't think that they would have to have Yedlin leave if they brought in Escobar just to make the money work? I think that's what I would have to agree with Jose. Just to make it work financially, it would probably one has to go.
Yeah,
I don't know who else they could possibly send out.
I don't know what Escobar's money situation would look like, but that's my guess too. I would guess Yedlin, they're paying him a pretty good chunk of change, and just to go along with all of these kind of the cleanup financially that they're doing. I think that'll go hand in hand. I don't, like I said, I don't know how much Escobar would be paid right now, but it only seems logical.
Yeah, well, we'll keep an eye on it, and if more news comes out, we will be tweeting about it, putting it on Instagram. So make sure you're following us at the Hair and Heads on all socials, and keep up to date with the latest news on this club. The other bit of news is that Edson Ascona was transferred out. Was it on loan or was it a full transfer?
It was a loan.
So it was a loan deal out to the Vegas Lights, which is the USL team out there. Good to see. He's a young player from the Dominican Republic, if I'm not mistaken. And hopefully he has a good loan spell at the Vegas Lights, and then maybe he'll materialize into something for the senior club over here. But now that all that news is behind us, I think the only other thing was to talk about Freire. Had like a weird statement today in an interview saying that he didn't feel like he was fully fit for 90 minutes, which is disappointing because I think he might be one of our better defenders alongside Toto. But maybe he's coming off a knock during the transfer time. I don't know. I'm not.
I think we're hoping for that to be the case.
Say that again.
I think we're hoping for that to be the case.
Definitely, because if we say that Christoph is our best defender, or Sailor, or any of these other guys that haven't shown a lot this preseason, you're
Toto,
right.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think Toto for sure is our best defender. And then beyond that, it's like a pretty steep drop off. And not to say that Toto's right now an elite defender.
I think they're hoping that Freire elevates that talent a little bit. I think they expect him to be, if he comes in form, I think they expect him to be better than Toto is right now. Again, Toto being a younger player, it's understandable that he wouldn't be considered the best player in the back line. But yeah, Freire should be the best defender in the back line. Should.
You know what? I understand that he's saying that he's not 90-minute fit, but he looked pretty good against Newell's Old Boys. I don't how long did he play? Like 60 minutes was it, or was it just the first half? I don't remember now, but he looked decent. He looked good, especially with Toto next to him. They played really well together. We did hear about the knock that he might have, so it was kind of surprising to see him play as much as he did. So I'm not too worried. Noah Allen has been okay. So even if he's not 90-minute fit, if he plays 60 minutes or something like that, we get Noah Allen in there. We could get Christoph as a sub in. I don't mind Christoph as a sub. I really don't. I just don't want him starting a long period of time, most of the game, and just minimize the slowness that we see from Christoph.
So let me ask you a question: If Freire is not, if he's not fit, who do you want in there? Christoph or Noah Allen?
What? I think the point is moot because Freire is going to play. He just said he's not going to play 90 minutes.
He's not fit. That's not the question.
He's just dealing in hypotheticals here.
Your question is irrelevant.
If Freire fell into a well right before the match and we had to start Christoph or Noah Allen, who would you start?
I would say
Noah Allen.
As a happy birthday gift, we should start Ian Freire.
Doomed.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. It probably would be Noah Allen as my first choice of those two, because he did show a lot in preseason. Like, credit to him. We bash him and kind of joke about him, but he did show strides this preseason. So I probably would throw Noah Allen out there. Should Freire not be fit, but that's not the case. That's not what we're saying. He simply said that he doesn't feel that he's fit for a 90-minute full match, which is okay. He did only play one preseason game, and it's just one of those things that you don't necessarily need to say aloud. You could just get subbed off in the 70th minute and it be completely unremarkable and no one has to think twice about it. But he went ahead and said it, so here we are. Just
it does make you feel better if, let's say, he hadn't said anything and then he gets subbed off. Everybody's, oh my god, what's wrong with him? At least now we kind of expect him to get subbed off. So even if he's wincing or something, be like, oh well, he wasn't fit for 90 minutes. So
I'm gonna tell you what it sounded like to me. I don't even know this guy. I'm gonna be honest with you. That already sounded like a pre-built excuse. Oh, if I suck, I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm not fit. I'm not doing very well. Don't get mad.
Here comes the panicking, Jose.
So it would be on Tata if he overuses him.
I mean, that's a master manipulative move. Great for him, you know what I mean? Just big thinker, this guy. I like him already.
And if he plays well, it's like, man, he wasn't even fit. Imagine if he was 90 minutes.
This is a win-win for him. It was a
win-win situation.
Incredible power move.
But if he gets hurt, it's like, what are you doing, man? Why are you out there if you're not fit?
My team guy, you know what I mean?
So speaking of expectations and what we think will happen, let's talk about Real Salt Lake. Who am I going to throw it to? Chris, what do you think is going to happen?
Specifically for the Real Salt Lake match, I think it's going to be a good one. I don't think we can't just say, oh, Real Salt Lake, whatever, the middle of the pack. They're actually really decent. You know, they made it to the playoffs. They made it to the third game against Houston Dynamo. Really good matches overall. I think the last one ended in pens, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mean, they're solid. You know, their attack is really nice. Their midfield, to me, is their most solid piece of the whole puzzle there. They're just solid all around. The defense is okay. From what I saw from the matches that I saw, they seem to keep the play in front of them. They don't really let a lot of big plays go behind them. So that's that's going to be interesting to see how Luis Suarez and Messi work around that. So yeah, I think their attack is going to be really interesting to watch, especially against this defense that we're just finished talking about. Another thing that's really, really interesting, a lot of the goals that they scored last season are on set pieces. So that's our weakness. We know that's our weakness. It's been our weakness, defending the set pieces. So
last year.
Borgelin.
What has changed from defending set pieces from last year? I mean,
Borgelin,
we added Freire.
Freire.
We added
Suarez.
Freire. That's going to be a big difference, but
We're not
But-
small like last year. Redondo is not small either. Like,
Redondo's not playing this match, guaranteed.
okay.
But you have
Well,
Suarez.
but I'm saying it's not
you
our
have
weakness.
Freire. These are players who are bigger in stature than players that we've had there in the past. And Freire is of course more athletic than Christoph, and Suarez is probably a good foot and a half taller than Joseph Martinez. So
Yeah, you're not wrong, Chris. That was literally our biggest weakness, but it just happens to be that I really do think that this year we actually tried to address it. You know,
we haven't seen it done yet,
Also-
though, so let's see. We'll see.
also we have Gressel, and that helps with set pieces as well. Like just having a different dynamic to cross it in, and we have
Well, I'm talking
more
about
ability.
defending.
Yeah,
set
but it
pieces.
goes both ways too. It's attacking and defending. Like those corners last season were we just wouldn't take corners.
atrocious. I mean, and this year in the preseason, what did Messi do? That's the thing. Chris is not wrong in the sense of what was he trying to do? He was trying to hit Olympicos. Like, I don't know. Maybe he also didn't want to put our guys in harm's way. By the way, we totally cut off Chris. When I say we, it was Jose, it was me. Chris, you never finished with what you thought about Russell.
No, I mean that's pretty much the gist of it. I think you guys
Okay,
took
I
the
don't feel
corner
bad.
thing way too crazy. I mean, I was just talking about defending corners, and you guys just went crazy all over the place. So but yeah, I mean, those are my key points. You know, they're midfielders. Pablo Ruiz, Diego Luna, they're very solid. They're really, really good. You watch them play, and it's pretty electric. Diego Luna is awesome. He's a homegrown guy, I think, from Real Salt Lake, and man, he's awesome. He's a little guy, but he packs a punch, that's for sure.
He's a 20-year-old. He's super young. He came on last season. That was his first actual season with the MLS. I think he scored 7 goals for them in limited playing time. So that I think they have a tactic change this season. I don't think that they're going to run the same schemes that they were running last season. So I believe I was reading up on them, and it looks like they're going to try to do a more possession style and attack using those midfielders. So that'll be interesting. I think that's where the main battle will take place in this game. Is going to see how our midfielders stack up against theirs. Also, if they have a slow possession type of a game plan, that's going to be interesting to see how that goes with us, because that's typically how we've been attacking with Tata at the helm. So we'll see who has the better build up and see what happens there. But yeah, they have a lot of young talent on that Real team. And let me just say, this might just be me not knowing much about Real Salt Lake, but that's Real, like Real Madrid. That's a royal term. Like what's royal about Salt Lake City? Do they have some kind of monarch that I'm not aware of, or I just want to understand? I mean, I know as an Inter Miami fan, I can't be throwing stones in a glass house because Inter Miami is located in Broward County, so it's not really
and we're
a
called
great name. Yeah. So I understand that they can easily slap back at that, but I want to understand what's the royal about Real Salt Lake.
Just drop us a comment if you're a fan, and just let us know that way instead of us just guessing.
And also, we're gonna just go ahead and put that in a YouTube short, and we're gonna throw it out to Real Salt Lake fans and see what happens. You know,
How do you feel about Real Salt Lake fans, Jose?
I'm gonna get there, but I will say that we're not gonna feel them because it's gonna be in Miami. That's how I feel about them. But what I can tell you is that if I were to be a neutral fan and not have a horse in this race, if we didn't have Messi, I don't know if I would be super excited about Inter Miami's season prospects, right? As of right now, our preseason sucked. Real Salt Lake happen to have not a bad preseason themselves. Sure, they didn't play the talent that we did, but they 2-1-1. Like it wasn't terrible to look at. Um, Another thing to look at is they spent a lot of money this year acquiring new talent. Um, yeah, I mean, you mentioned, Dave, that they do a lot of midfield possession and a lot of holding it there, but they're going to be looking for long balls. So let's see how that works.
Yeah, I was making a face more at the competition that they faced. They played a team from the Faroe Islands. They played a team from Norway. No offense to the Norwegians, but the Norwegian league is not highly regarded. They have a couple teams, but they didn't play even the best team in that league. They played Fredrikstad. They won the matches. We played against teams that we should have won, and we did not win. So fair play, but I don't think it is representative of what they will play come Wednesday at the bastion that is Drive Pink Stadium. And I think we're going to see a completely different mindset from the Herons on Wednesday. I think they're going to come out. I think we're going to get back into seeing early goals, hit them in the mouth real early, and then just grind it out. It will be interesting to see how possession heavy we are this season, given that there may be a formation change from a 5 at the back to a 4 at the back. When we come up against teams that like playing in possession, it's just going to be interesting because when we really imposed ourselves, we were plus 60%. And if you go back, Jose is always talking about let's get 70%, and it wasn't out of the realm of possibility. Like there were times where you really felt that we could possess the ball that long. I think it's going to be a little bit different this season. I don't think it's going to be as possession heavy. It'll be a lot quicker play, a lot more quick passes, 1-2 touch, and maybe conceding more possession than we have in the past. So it will be interesting to see how we hold up against a very strong midfield before Redondo does get integrated into the lineup. That area does give me a little bit of concern. For Wednesday's match, we will be lacking at depth a little bit. Gregory won't be available, obviously. Redondo won't be available yet. So it's going to be interesting to see, do we see Gressel, Busquets, Ruiz, or do we see maybe a little bit more forward-thinking? I'm interested to see how Tata sort of lets the players go out. I'm honestly not sure what the 11 looks like other than Messi and Suarez and Alba and Busquets starting. Like other than the big four, I don't know who's going to be out there. I guess Yedlin has to be out there for the time being, but I don't really know.
I think we know what the defense is going to look like. It's going to be Freire. It's going to be Toto. Yeah, it is. He's going to play 60 minutes. He's not 90-minute fit, but he's going to play 60 minutes. I think we know the defense is going to look like. I think the question mark is a midfield. What's that going to look like at the end of the day? We have players that are hurt. We have new players coming in. So that's going to be the real missing piece there. Attack, we all know what it's going to. Well, besides that left wing position. That left wing position is a question mark. But I assume Robert Taylor is going to be there. I don't see who else would be there, honestly. No, Jose? You don't think so?
No, I agree. There's not unless they change the formation to a 5-back, then that's the key right there.
Or 2 strikers with Messi tucked in behind, and we finally see Campana Suarez, which it would be weird to test it like in the first match, but I feel like everywhere people have been clamoring to see 2 strikers, with Suarez being one of the strikers, because to this point we've seen Suarez not isolated, but sort of as the lone striker with the winger sort of tucking in. We saw some success in as far as positioning goes when Diego Gomez played left wing, and he found himself in really nice positions cutting in. But I would love to see a 2-striker formation with Suarez and Campana, even Suarez and Messi. But I don't know who you would tuck in behind those two to really facilitate the play. But I would love to see a 2-striker formation.
The issue with Suarez and Messi, I think, is that Messi at the end of the day is going to be Messi. He's going to come back. He's going to try to drive the ball up the field a little bit, kind of be that attacking midfielder at the end of the day. So we're really going to see 2 strikers when the attack is actually in progress. That's the only reason I don't like Messi at the striker position. I like for him at the center mid, or at the attacking center mid position. I want to see, if we're going to do 2 strikers, I want to see 2 true strikers up there and see what happens.
I mean, you got to ask yourself, who do you want to see on the pitch more, Robert Taylor or Noah Allen? That's what you got to ask yourself. Because
What does that have to do? They don't even play the same position. Why does that matter?
I'm big thinking right now, Chris. So
He's
if you do,
thinking outside of the pitch. You have
Don't
to,
hurt
He's saying
hurt yourself.
wingers or 5 at the back.
It's not going to be 5 back.
I think to have a 2 striker up front, I think that's what would have to happen. I think that's where he would go. Look, to be honest, we're just gonna sit back and watch Tata do something crazy, and then we're gonna have a great stuff to talk about afterwards. Can you believe what Tata did today? I mean, he never even tested it in preseason. I can't believe it. This is what I expect us to be talking about. To be totally frank, I think that he's gonna do something that we haven't even seen in the preseason, and we're gonna say, where'd that come from? Because that's how we saw last year, isn't it? Like we never even we can never pin the guy down. He was like, "You're not gonna pin me down. You're not gonna put me in a box. I know exactly. I know what I'm gonna do. You don't get over it." And I'm not even gonna try to sit here and say that's impossible. He would never do 2 strikers. Why not?
All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes here. What's going to be the match result?
I have it. Did you know?
Oh, go please.
Did you know
the first did you know of the season? Here we go.
It's not a crazy one, but Real Salt Lake allowed the 2nd most goals last year in all of MLS. Why is that interesting in this conversation? Well, because that comes into the formation topic, right? Like, do we just go all in on attack and they're not going to stop it anyways? Why not? Let's go 6 goals on them, right? Let's go. All right. Go ahead.
That's interesting because the main sorry, here I go again. A lot of the matches that I was able to watch when we were looking into this stuff was Orlando, who has a strong attack, LAFC, who has a very strong attack, and Houston, who's capable, and they barely let them score. So that is a very good did you know, because these high scoring teams or these high octane teams couldn't really score on Real Salt Lake. So it's going to be interesting to see what our little Barca boy reenactment could do here.
So, score predictions. Let's get final score and time of first goal.
3-2 Inter. Time scored Miami at 22 minutes.
Let's go with a 2-1 Inter Miami win. And we're going to get our first goal. It's going to be Inter Miami at the 33rd minute.
I think it's improbable that we keep a clean sheet. So I'm going to say 3-1 Inter Miami. And we're going to score within the first 10 minutes like we used to, like the good old days. And we're going to score in the 9th minute. And it's going to be Suarez.
Davestradamus is changing it up this year. It's the year of the icon, so we're on board on the icon of the seas here. And then I have Inter Miami winning this one 4-1. Suarez gets a brace, and the first goal is scored by Miami in the 13th minute.
There you have it. Inter Miami is definitely winning. And should they lose, you cannot come back to this clip and video and say, look at these guys. Inter Miami's going to win. There's no way Real Salt Lake is going to win. I don't want to hear it. They're going to win. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. When they win by all of these results, we'll just clip it and just send it out into the world and be like, yeah, told you. Nothing to worry about. So as far as the season as a whole goes, I think there's a lot of really interesting things. We can obviously talk about where Inter Miami are going to finish when the season ends. We can talk about, all the trophies and awards that we're probably going to win. But I want to know, to start, what our best 11 looks like from attack to midfield to defense. Who are our best 11 players? Chris is grabbing something from off screen for those of you listening.
Just pull the Jose. Click.
Okay, are you writing or are you going to...
I'm not going. I think I had mentioned it.
If you guys are waiting for me.
I had mentioned in the group chat earlier today, once we found out that the Redondo signing was actually happening. Let me see. Yeah, I'm pulling it up too.
It's fantastic. So I'll start. So I think at the front, I'm gonna stick with what I was saying earlier, and I would love to see some form of two striker formation. But regardless of what formation we employ on a match to match basis, I do think at the end of the season we're gonna say our best 11 consists of both strikers, Suarez and Campana, because I think both of them will be very successful this season, regardless if they start together or if they start by themselves. Both of them will find success in the system with the players around them. So I have Suarez and Campana, Messi, of course. And then for the midfield, it's going to be Busquets, Redondo. And I think David Ruiz really elevates his play. I think he's very well rounded. And although he wasn't in the U22 team, like the who's who last season, I think he's going to find his way onto that list this year. Obviously, we should expect a lot of quality play from Diego Gomez, from Benja when he comes back from his hernia injury. And then for defense, it's going to be Alba. It's going to be Toto. I'm actually not going to include Freire, but I think Yedlin and Gressel make our best 11. And then obviously Drake Callender, I don't think he's supplanted by anyone on this roster right now. So unless someone of a very high caliber gets added in the summer, Callender just holds the position between the sticks, bar none.
Yeah, I agree with most of your decisions. The only thing is I don't project Campana onto the best 11. I think that he can come off the bench and be a good replacement for Suarez. But when we're trying to get the best out there and the best tacticians out there, I think if we have actual wingers, that would help out a lot. So that's why in mine I include Robert Taylor, Suarez at the attack, and then Gressel on the other side as the other winger. I think that group up front would be best. Messi tucked in behind Suarez, and projecting a little bit with some of the newer signings and projected signings. So Sergio and Redondo as the two pivots, and then the back line forward to back with Alba, Freire, Toto, and Yedlin or Escobar if he comes in. It's just there's no other player that's gonna supplant those wingers. So it'll have to either be Yedlin or Escobar, whoever gets the start. And if they sign Escobar, and of course Drake, there's no debate that Drake's gonna be the man in net. What Dos Santos has, the little that I've seen from Dos Santos, he doesn't look like he has he's very young. It doesn't look like he has what's necessary above the shoulders there to really dominate that position and kind of command the defense. So I think that's going to be the best 11, and hopefully we'll see plenty of that.
Yeah, I'm not digging the two striker look, and the reason why is because I don't know if Suarez is the guy that you want to push for 90 minutes. To be honest with you, it's a long season, so I would almost I encourage them to use Campana off the bench often. You know what I mean? And if you take him out at 65 minutes and he plays those 65 minutes as hard as he possibly can instead of limping and walking around, I'm still going to do it anyways, but I want him at 100% for as long as possible during the season. So having Campana there as a nice throw in will be great. I think Robert Taylor and Gressel on the wings is the best way in that capacity. Then you put in Messi in the middle, and then you have two. I would like two pivots. I would like Redondo and Busi to be pivots for the CBs to be able to pass the ball up the pitch, and then obviously Alba, Freire, Toto, and Yedlin.
You could have just said, I like what David said.
I had reasons why, and you didn't mention any of those reasons. And so for that,
I feel like I said exactly that. I said Campana would sub in for Suarez, that Redondo and Busi would be pivots.
I disagree.
I'm gonna have to agree with David and Jose. I think the only difference that I have is that Diego Gomez is gonna be part of the best starting 11. I don't think you guys mentioned that. You said Robert Taylor, right? I think it's gonna be Diego Gomez on that left
Gomez
side.
at left wing.
Yeah. Yes and no.
I don't think it needs to necessarily be the best 11
exactly.
in a formation. I think it's who are our best 11 players this season.
I don't think he's maybe not necessarily the left wing, but he is going to be on the left side, whether it's going to be left center mid or something like that. But I think he's two reasons why. He's coming, obviously, the best in form because of his pre-Olympic matches. So he already has a head start above everybody. And second of all, the other player that I would probably normally have there is Kremaski, but he's injured. Even when he comes back from injury, it's going to take him some time to get the chemistry up in this team, to really get his feet back under him. So I really think that's why Diego Gomez is going to be the guy at the left side. Obviously, Busi Redondo in the center, helping out with the defense a lot. And then Freire and Toto, obviously, in the center. I don't think that's going to change. But yeah, I agree with Jose and Suarez being the lone striker. And that's actually a really good point because I don't know what you're saying. I don't read lips.
You agree with me?
I do agree with you. Yeah. And that's actually a good point that I didn't think about, that maybe we don't want Suarez playing the whole 90 minutes all the time, and Campana spelling him every once in a while is not going to hurt. So good job, Jose.
To be
Totally
very
agree
clear,
with you, Chris.
to be very clear, I don't necessarily think that we will see consistently the two striker formation, but I do think when the season ends, we will look back and say, oh, Campana had 15 goals and assists, 15 to 20 goals and assists. He was one of our better players this season. That's strictly what I'm saying. Like, if you compare him to, let's say, the end of season statistics for Robert Taylor, I think that we will say Campana had more of an impact on the games than Robert Taylor, for example. So Jose agrees with me. Great. Okay.
Solid argument too.
So where do we think that Inter Miami will finish this season? Obviously, expectations are very high. Vegas has expectations very high. So where do we actually think that Inter Miami finish? Will we win the Supporter Shield, or where do we finish?
That has to be the goal. Like, for this team, for the expectations, the amount of talent, the amount of money that they're putting into this team, I think that nothing short of the Supporter Shield is acceptable for them. They saw the magic run that they had towards the end of last season, and that was derailed by injuries. I think they feel like they have an even better building block for the season this year than they had towards the end of it last year. So if they had that amount of success with such little time together at the end of the year, they think they feel like, as long as they're not derailed by injuries, that they should have a legitimate chance of getting that Supporter Shield.
And a lot of those players are still here, right? From that magical run that they had in that Leagues Cup, and to build on that, I mean, it's one of those things that, like, if you did all these moves to get all these great players and you don't win, I mean, it's just it becomes from the expectation of us being the top dogs in every single cup, and every cup we should be the favorites. It is what it is, and it can go from that to all of a sudden with a laughing stock. Like, that's straight up how that there's no in between here.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly.
Wise words, the wisest. Jose, you're gonna say what your expectations are, or that's it? That's all you got?
That's it. No, if we don't win or not, we suck. I mean, I don't know how else to tell you. I don't know how else to tell you. if we lose to Orlando, we suck.
So I think the Supporter Shield is very important, but I think if we win or the Supporter Shield or not, it's fine. But I think the main goal here is the MLS Cup. I think that's the number one thing we have to win. But for this to really be a successful season, I think we need to have at least two cups. We got to win either Leagues Cup. The CONCACAF would be the really the epitome. That's the highest thing that we could possibly get this season. That'll trump everything else, to tell you the truth. That'll trump.
If we just get that one, I would be like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that'll trump everything else, to tell you the truth. Pretty cool. But man, if we could win two, that's really a successful season. Just making it to the playoffs isn't good enough. I think just winning the Supporter Shield isn't good enough. I think we have to really get, especially in the, I guess, the American culture that we have, to really get the attention, right, of the fans here in the United States. They want to win a championship, right? They want to go all the way. So I think the MLS Cup is very important, and then one of the tournament cups, CONCACAF being the top dog here, I think that's what we need. If there's anything short of those 2 cups, I kind of think it's a failure.
And the thing is, in that specific cup, I can only imagine how much of a step forward we're going to get from these Barca boys, because what comes from that cup is the potential to play in an even bigger cup the next year, and that's when you can play, Real Madrids of the world and the Barca's. That's what these people want, right?
Can't wait to play against Mbappe and Real Madrid.
That won't end well.
Against Freire and Toto.
I know to tell you.
We didn't say we'll be successful in the World Cup. You just said we get there.
Yeah. So I
can't wait to see Messi against them. How about that?
Agreed. So I agree with you, Chris. I think although the supporters shield is the traditional trophy, the season trophy for most leagues, I think given how the MLS is structured, it is not the end goal for a lot of teams. It may be reported as such, like, that's who was the best team across the entire season, etc. I think at the end of the day, the championship for this league is to win the MLS Cup, and I think that bears way more weight than the supporter shield. So I do think that the MLS Cup is an absolute necessity, and then winning one of these other cups, whether it be an in-season tournament like the Leagues Cup or an international tournament like the CONCACAF Champions Cup, is absolutely a primary goal for this club right now. I think getting to the playoffs in a healthy state is a big goal as well. Being able to roll out with Messi, with Suarez, with Busquets and Alba in the postseason of the MLS Cup, I think that's a chief goal as well. So managing the minutes across the entire season, rotating as needed and not overusing in spots. We have a lot of fixtures ahead of us. I think those are all like key goals. But yeah, Chris, to your point, I think the supporter shield takes a back seat. So even if we finish first in our conference, but not first overall, I think that's totally fine. Even if we finish second or third in our conference, it's not what we expect right now. But if the trade-off is going into the playoffs healthy, I will absolutely be happy with that. And if we are competitive in the other competitions as well, I'm absolutely okay with that. So I do think we finish second in the overall standings. I think we finished first in our conference, but not winning the supporter shield. I think the West is a much stronger conference, although maybe that just cannibalizes itself.
I was going to say that plays into Inter Miami's hand. If the West is stronger, let them beat them up, let them beat themselves up, and then that we prop ourselves up with our easier quote unquote schedule.
Yeah, I think we'll have large stretches of like win after win after win, but we'll probably hit a couple ruts. Injuries are just the name of the game, so we'll probably have to go through stretches without some of our big players. And I think we just come up a point or two short of the supporter shield, but I do think we make some deep runs in the postseason and in these other competitions that probably take a little bit more priority, but we'll see how it all plays out. I think obviously the expectation is that we are competitive in all of these competitions. So as far as individuals who will succeed on this team, who do we think scores the most goals on this team? Who wins the Inter Miami Golden Boot?
Suarez.
Nice. Minus 700 on Suarez. No Robert Taylor is a little surprising.
I'm going to say Suarez. Yep.
I'm going to say Messi. I want to say Suarez, but I think at the end of the day, this is Messi's team, and at least what we've seen in the preseason, granted, it's preseason, he just looks way more fit and way more dangerous in attack. I think Suarez is gonna click for Suarez, but my gut just says Messi's gonna have more goals.
Yeah, just to be that guy, I want to say Campana, but realistically, it'll be Suarez. And the difference is that Suarez will probably have a couple games where he rattles off more than one, and it'll just supersede Campana just based off of minutes and sheer volume of chances. So Suarez is for me, going to be our Golden Boot winner for the club, and very well could be the Golden Boot of the entire league, just because of the sheer number of chances given his talent and his ability in the box. It's just unrealistic to pick anyone else on this team. As much as I want Campana to succeed, I think he'll have a hell of a season, but Suarez is going to be our Golden Boot winner. And then I think we all know the answer to this next question. Who's going to be our most valuable player across the season?
Messi.
Agreed. I think any other answer is just silly and naive. It's going to be Messi. He's the most important player on this team. But maybe something that is going to have a few different answers here is who's going to be our unsung hero this season?
I think Redondo coming in is gonna be a big. It's gonna be a major piece to this team. I think if y'all haven't seen him play, I would recommend going to watch him. The types of plays that he opens up, just the passes that he makes, and even his defense. He's gonna be an anchor on this team. You kind of want to say Boosie at times, but this guy, like Julio said earlier in the beginning of this episode, he's been compared a lot to Boosie. He's very similar play style, very similar build. I think this guy's really going to be the anchor and the unsung hero on this team. He's going to dish it out to Messi a lot. I think Messi, like we said, Messi's going to be the MVP. Messi's going to get all these assists. He may not be the top goal scorer, but he's going to get all these assists. He's going to make all these plays happen. But I think the guy feeding him the ball right now is going to be Redondo. I think Redondo is going to be the unsung hero here.
I'm thinking Gomez, because Gomez is a guy that he is not afraid to scrap. He's not afraid to get under the other team's skin. He's doing the stuff that the not flashy things. The only thing Chris Redondo's flashy as heck, man. I mean, it's like he's gonna do all that stuff and he's gonna make it look so pretty. I can't call him an unsung hero. This guy is off the charts talented. He's probably gonna be our best. He might be our best player.
I say unsung hero because I don't think he's gonna. Whoa, that's high. I say unsung hero because he's not. I don't think he's gonna have all the stats out there to say, oh, he's the top of the league. This, he's the top of the team. That, but I think he's gonna create all these chances for other players to be the top in the league or in the top of the team.
Like a lot of hockey assists, right?
You just had to get another sports reference in there. I don't think Redondo could be the unsung hero when people are saying he might be the best midfielder in the MLS coming in. But I have to go with my unsung hero as Julian Gressel. I think that he's the cleaner. He does all the dirty work that nobody really wants to talk about. He can play winger, he can play wing back, he can play midfield. This guy will do anything that our team needs. And he does it without griping, and he does it adequately. It's a great stopgap, and also he can defend quite well. And his crossing has, at least in the preseason, has been very, very on point. So I think the issue with him, and I've seen a lot of backlash from the fans so far, is that he doesn't seem to be in the right position sometimes. But I think that's just a chemistry thing and getting to know the teammates, just like we've seen with Suarez. Once he finds himself in a comfortable position, I think that he's just going to be great anywhere that you put him. He has a history of winning in this league, so he brings those experiences with him to this club. He can show them. I know that there's a lot of players who've had winning experiences throughout other leagues, but in this league, he's the one who brings that winning experience. So I think he's going to be that unsung hero type player for us, and he's going to get a lot of backlash just because he's the big inner in league signing. So I think he's going to get some backlash for that too.
Yeah, I was hoping I would get through the three of you without anyone mentioning Gressel, but I totally agree with you. I think Gressel, it's a position that doesn't get a lot of it's not heralded, right? Like if you played that position well, everyone's just like, great, you played the position well, nothing bad happened. If you play it poorly, you're definitely singled out and you're like, you really effed up. Like you need to get your act together. Gressel, his interchangeability, his versatility across that right side, I think is really going to play into the hands of what we want to do this season. Making it healthy across the season, being able to move him around the pitch is going to be vital for the success of this team. And he's a damn good player. He's going to make the right passes. He's a veteran presence from the MLS, like you mentioned, Dave, and he's going to provide a lot of that moxie that you need. A lot of not flashy plays, but really heady plays. You know, he's going to be the guy that just is the glue that holds that right side together. When Yedlin is having a poor run of form, we probably will see Gressel at right back at times this season. When Messi needs a breather, we probably will see Gressel for some matches at right wing or on the right, very advanced side this season. And when someone in the midfield needs a break too, we'll probably see Gressel. So he's going to plug in a lot. I think he's going to provide us a lot of just stopgap and in a very capable way, not just like I guess we'll put Gressel there. It'll be like, no, Gressel makes sense there. He's good enough. And every now and then he's going to provide like a really great play that we're going to look back and be like, yeah, like he is the reason why we didn't lose that game or why we won that game. So I totally agree. I think Gressel has the highest potential to being the unsung hero, just a position where, like I said, it doesn't get a lot of necessarily like flashy coverage, but it is absolutely one of the biggest necessities in the sport. So I think everyone had a great selection by not going with an attacker. I think we're all in the right mindset by saying it's a midfielder because they are the engines that will drive this team forward. And then for us having such a nice mix of young players, who do we think is going to be the most improved player on this team?
I want to go first on this one because I think it might get stolen if I wait, just like Julio. I think nobody's bashed Noah Allen more than me in this show, and I'm going to have to go with Noah Allen just by the mere fact that he was so bad last year. That if he just shows that he's mediocre, I think that's a vast improvement. Just remember how we were saying that Noah Allen to Alba was a bigger gap than Messi from Facundo Farias to Messi. That wasn't as bad as Alba to Noah Allen. I think Noah Allen has shown so much growth that we can honestly say that now the gap between Messi and Facu would be greater than Alba to Noah Allen. Hopefully, that's what I'm projecting by the end of the season because he's shown that growth at least during this preseason. So if he can sustain that and continue growing and building upon what we've seen in the preseason, then my hope is that Noah Allen is a great young piece moving forward and hopefully the heir apparent to Alba.
I'll go next. So I actually think even though he's already one of our better players, at least in defense, I think Toto is going to be our most improved player. He came in as one of the more highly regarded defenders in CONCACAF, and now's the time to grow up. And by the end of the season, I wouldn't be surprised if he's considered one of the top 3 defenders in the league. He could very well be an X factor for this team. He could be the unsung hero of this team if he reaches that level. If he's able to step up and be just an absolute stalwart in defense, then we're talking about a completely different outcome in every single competition we're a part of. Because right now, our defense is our weakest unit. But if Toto can elevate his play, where he's considered one of the most ferocious defenders in the league, if he's able to keep his head on his shoulders and not lunge in defense as he does so often, then I think we're talking about a very different outlook for the season. Because if he shores it up and at least half of our center backs are the best, then we're talking about an absolute monster on the pitch.
I'm going to let Chris say because I already know which one he's going to say.
So I knew you guys thought you knew what I was going to say. But I really want to say David Ruiz. I really want to say David Ruiz because he's had a tremendous preseason. He's a young guy, up and comer. But I can't help but to keep thinking most improved is going to be Diego Gomez. He had a great pre-Olympic, like we've mentioned multiple times. We saw the first game with this team, with this new team, this newly built team. He played great. You know, he had a lot of chances. Yes, he didn't score. We understand that he's not a scorer according to us, right? But but I think he's going to take the next step. I think he's really an all around midfielder. We know he's gritty. He has that defensive component. We're seeing that he has that attacking component now. So I think he's really going to take the next step. He's shown it already, and now once he gets that chemistry up with this team, I think we're really going to see him not only being his gritty defensive self, but I think we're going to see him score a lot of goals this season.
Do you think that he'll take a free kick over Messi at any point this season?
Absolutely not, because second would be Gressel, and then you would put Diego Gomez third.
Well, my most improved is going to be Kinemaski. The reason why is because I know he's hurt right now, but he showed a lot of promise last year. So it's one of those things that I'm looking forward to, because I think that guy's got some guts. I love the way he plays. He's always a Energizer Bunny amongst a team with greats, and amongst a team that has so much just amazing players. And this guy just comes in, and he came in and won us some games. So I'm really excited to see how he can grow from there. It's a shame that he had that injury in the preseason, because I think this was his year to take another step forward.
It was one of the more disappointing things that happened this preseason, in a preseason that had a lot of disappointments, mind you. Very disappointing, but he will be back. I think it'll take him some time to get back into the flow of things, get into a rhythm. But yeah, I think all these guys have all the tools in their toolkit to continue to progress. I can't believe I'm saying that about Noah Allen, but hey, I'm happy that he's going to be helping this team. So I hope that all of these guys exceed the expectations set forth for them. And now all that's left to do is tune in on Wednesday night, 8 p.m. kickoff. Just absolutely delightful. Kids are in bed. It's a put your kids to bed kind of game, Jose. And I can't wait, man. We made it. The season's finally here. This preview is officially finito. Unless, Chris, you have anything else to add?
Nah, just kidding.
Beautiful. Well, with that said, we will catch you guys Wednesday night post-match for our live reaction. Make sure you hit the notification bell if you're watching on YouTube so you can join us. We love interacting with the chat. The chat's been super lively lately. So thank you so much for that. If you guys are still watching at this point in this episode, thanks for hanging out with us. And we hope to catch you here next time on the Heron Heads, your first stop for all things Inter Miami. Catch you on the next one.